While a growing list of Baltimore Democrats have recently been arrested and taken down on corruption-related charges, it looks like people are fed up with this corruption, as according to new U.S. Census estimates, the population of Baltimore has fallen below 600,000 people for the first time in over a century. For months, we've been following on this channel how Baltimore and the state of Maryland is one of the main areas where we're seeing a lot of Democrats being taken down on corruption-related charges. Baltimore Democrat Cheryl Glenn pleading guilty to bribery and fraud earlier this year. And just earlier this month, Baltimore businessman Lance Lucas also pleads guilty for bribing Cheryl Glenn. While the former mayor of Baltimore, Catherine Pugh, another Democrat, was recently sentenced to 3 years behind bars. I've also mentioned in previous videos how, coincidentally, many of these investigations into Baltimore Democrats started escalating right around the same time that Elijah Cummings passed away, another top Democrat from Baltimore who directly endorsed Mayor Pugh. Looking more at the explanation as to what's happening with the population in Baltimore, a recent article opens saying the population of Baltimore, Maryland has dropped below 600,000 residents according to U.S. Census estimates published last Thursday. In a statement, Mayor Young, a Democrat, said that the estimates are, quote, extremely important and help underscore the critical need to get the 2020 census count as complete and accurate as possible. However, Young did not comment on the reasons for the decline in numbers, but said he was focused on getting a complete count for the upcoming census so the city would receive its fair share of federal funding. Quote, I have made boosting Baltimore's completion rate for the 2020 census a top priority for my administration. We can't afford to undercount our population, he noted. Article adds that as of July 2019, Baltimore had an estimated 593,490 residents. The report continued, that suggests Baltimore lost 8,953 people, or 1.5% of its population, from the previous year. Same article adds how in 2015, a report for the former mayor's Grow Baltimore initiative highlighted some of the reasons why residents wanted to leave the city. The key factors were, quote, daily stressors such as litter, parking, property crime, and vacant housing, high property taxes and insurance rates, poor performing public schools, and lack of information about school choice, and few market rate housing choices for new retirees. I've also previously referenced back in 2018, Democrat Maryland Senator Nathaniel Oakes was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison on corruption charges. Oakes was sent to prison after the Democrat state senator was caught accepting illegal payments in exchange for using his position to facilitate business deals using the code word lollipop for every $1,000 he collected. Other Maryland Democrats I've recently covered include Tawana Gaines, who was sentenced earlier this year for federal wire fraud. Gaines, a Democrat from Prince George's County, resigned before pleading guilty in October. She admitted to using more than $22,000 in campaign donations to pay for dental work, hairstyling, an Amazon Fire TV stick, and other personal expenses. The 67-year-old apologized to her family, her constituents, and the people of Maryland before receiving her sentence. Quote, I took my oath very seriously, but I fell short, Gaines said. And a more recent update from a related case where the daughter and treasurer of Tawana Gaines, Anitra Edmond, recently was sentenced to probation for misusing her mother's campaign funds. Anitra Edmond pleaded guilty in November to converting more than $35,000 in campaign funds for her personal use from November of 2012 through June of 2018 and failing to disclose contributions on state campaign finance reports. In a plea agreement, Edmond says she used the money for fast food, hairstyling, personal phone bills, and rent for a separate business. Baltimore Sun also recently reporting that a federal judge granted former Baltimore Mayor Pugh's request to delay her incarceration by 2 weeks. Federal judge who oversaw the recent criminal conviction of former Baltimore Mayor Catherine Pugh granted a request from Pugh to delay her incarceration until April 27th, 2 months after she was sentenced to 3 years behind bars for her Healthy Holly book fraud. While this recent article suggests that a new federal law may save Catherine Pugh more jail time. The First Step Act was enacted by Congress in 2018 and may just save former Mayor Catherine Pugh from spending 3 full years in prison. The law allows certain elderly federal inmates to be eligible for home confinement before their sentence expires. Pugh's attorney, Steve Silverman, says in order to be eligible, you must be at least 60 years old. Pugh will be 70 this month. Before this, other officials appointed by Mayor Pugh had been forced to step down amid separate investigations, including Baltimore's transportation director, while a former Baltimore police commissioner who was appointed by Mayor Pugh back in 2018 was released from prison in February. Another article just posted yesterday describes this corruption along with some of the other factors leading to the population drop in Baltimore. This title, Baltimore's population drops to levels not seen since the Great Depression. The biggest reason for the rapid decline is that people are moving away and not coming back. Between July of 2018 and July of 2019, Baltimore lost 7,300 residents. That's slightly more than 1% of the total population in a single year. And that's been going on for quite a few years. Author adds that virtually all of the factories are gone, so good jobs are few and far between. The infrastructure is crumbling and the city is littered with vacant lots and more than 16,000 uninhabitable residential properties that are collapsing. The schools consistently fail to meet state and federal guidelines for success. They conclude, adding how it also doesn't help that the city government is better known for corruption and theft than for any sort of leadership. Prior to current interim mayor Jack Young, 2 of the last 3 mayors left office on their way to jail. The other retired without seeking a second full term because the city was literally burned to the ground under her watch. All of the self-dealing going on has lined the pockets of elected officials and their friends more than it's gone to help the residents. Meanwhile, Baltimore Comptroller Joan Pratt is subject of a new Inspector General investigation. Was recently found that the city comptroller was reporting to work at City Hall only 18 hours per week. Pratt is one of the most powerful people in City Hall. She has been elected to her post 6 times and has a slight lead in the polls for a 7th term. As a member of the Board of Estimates, Pratt approves or disapproves all of the city's major contracts. Here's another picture of Joan Pratt with former Mayor Pugh. Earlier this month, Baltimore's Inspector General found Pratt, as a member of the city's Board of Estimates, voted 30 times in 3 years to award lucrative city contracts, grants, and pre-qualifications to companies which appeared to be conflicts of interests. She's also voted to award her own campaign contributors millions in city contracts. 2 years ago, they note she voted to give her longtime church a sweetheart land deal, selling 15 city lots for $15. Pratt called the deal with her church, quote, an administrative oversight. After the reporter's question about the responsibility lying with her, she responded, absolutely. Fox 45 News began investigating and quickly discovered something interesting. The comptroller, who earns $125,000 a year from the city, is spending very little time in her city office. They go on to add that she spent almost as much time at her personal accounting firm as she spent at the office of her publicly elected position. Taxpayer advocate David Williams says that Pratt's outside work is likely fueling many of these potential conflicts. He says, quote, she needs to drop those jobs immediately and focus on the city of Baltimore. Without the side jobs, she might be clear to spend more time at her $125,000 a year job. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think about any of these recent updates. If you could give this video a thumbs up, click the like button, that's greatly appreciated, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Just a reminder, just in case something happens here on YouTube with all the censorship going on, one other place where you can follow me, I am on Twitter, @RealityReader is my name on Twitter, if you'd like to follow me there. And thank you again very much, everybody who has supported the channel over at patreon.com/realityreader or paypal.me/realityreader. Both of those links are down in the video description where you can support this channel directly. I will follow up soon. Thanks again.